intro, I'd like to introduce you to our amazing panelists. Before we do that real quick, let's just highlight what this topic is. And the topic today is metamorphosis, adapting to a new world of commerce. And as you all know, and we've all spoken, life has not been the same for any of us, both personally, business, and family. And, we're going through a really different time in our lives. And so we think this is a great opportunity to discuss that an open conversation among some industry experts. So we have two amazing brands here, and we have an awesome world-class consumer research insight expert. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Devora, to start it off. Go ahead and just intro yourself, name, company title, and of course, one fun question we'd like to ask is, what is your superpower, your quarantine superpower, and your quarantine kryptonite?
Awesome. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining wherever you may be joining from. Last night, my family celebrated Passover remotely through Google Hangouts. And I will say there is some real benefits to having meetings and seders this way, which is that the mute button definitely reduces the amount of strife and fighting. We did our fighting before we got there, but we were able to contain it with the mute. So there's some real benefits in being married to a introvert. He's very excited about some of the things that are happening now in terms of staying inside and not having to deal with anyone. So there are some benefits, but I'm really excited to be here. And I have been really enjoying these opportunities as just a way to connect to fellow humans. So glad we could do that. I am Chief Strategy Officer at Alter Agents. We're a boutique research firm based in Los Angeles, and I've been in consumer research the past decade. Before that, I worked in emerging media, and my job was to help brands at Interpublic Group, agencies and brands prepare for the terrifying new world. At that time, it was iPhones, and so advertisers were trying to figure out what a world with iPhones would look like. And man, I mean, we would give, trends presentations and be totally wrong. And so I think that is a little bit of the moment we're in now. But I guess the one thing I'll say, and I'll share a lot more about some of our recent research, but one of the things I'll be doing tonight that Richard asked me to do is to bring in the voice of the consumer into this. And that is kind of always on my mind. And in particular, right now, you'll hear me using other words like human. You might hear me use the word shopper because we're more than just consumers who buy things. We are people, and all of us in this country are in a very unique moment. But the one theme that I'll come back to throughout this that is based on both my sort of decade of research and also more recently some work that we did that you can download at alteragents.com. Sorry to do that, but you can go download you can watch the webinar and download the white paper, and next week we'll send it out to you. But about Americans having been in fear before this ever happened and existed. So we were already in a state of anxiety, and now it's heightened. And so I'll talk a lot about what we see in terms of how people were already coping and what brands and marketers can do to serve them.
Awesome. And what's your superpower and your...
Oh, I forgot to answer that. Thank you. My quarantine superpower is the Instapot, which if you don't have it is an amazing thing because you can put all your stuff in it, hit cook, and then you can do all your cleaning while your kid pulls at your hair and stuff, and then dinner's ready. So that's my superpower. And my quarantine kryptonite is my 5-year-old who demands social closeness, physical closeness, social closeness, 24/7.
I assume you locked the door then.
No, it doesn't work. She'll just beat on it. So I have to I have to embrace it.
Well, thanks, Devora. We're really happy to have you here. And Monica, if you want to go ahead and take the reins on this one.
Awesome. I'm Monica, and I'm from New Jersey. I have 3 kids under the age of 10. I've been married for 10 years. And I work for BestSelf. BestSelf is a company that creates productivity tools to help people think bigger, achieve more, and foster deeper connections. Our flagship product is the Self Journal. And we also have conversation decks like the Icebreaker, Intimacy, and Little Talk. I've been with the company for almost 4 years now, and I lead the customer experience team. I've been with the company for so long that I really feel like I'm able to help people really achieve their best self using our products. So it's been really cool to be able to see people in this type of time still use our products. And even though their goals may have changed, to still be able to achieve things and do good. So for me, it's such an exciting time, even though it's definitely different, it's still something that we can move forward with. And I will pass it to Julian.
Well, actually, first off, congratulations on 10 years. That's amazing. And second, what's your kryptonite?
That's right. Oh my gosh, second one that forgot the question. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
My quarantine superpower is that I'm still laser focused as I was before the quarantine while having my 3 kids running around. And 2 of them are doing long distance learning through school. And my kryptonite is not being able to order takeout, just because the town that I'm in is sort of a hot spot. So it gets me a little concerned. You can still order takeout, definitely still support small business. It's just personal. It gets me. That's my kryptonite. I used to order out a lot. So
Awesome. So I'll pass it over to you, Julian.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to start with my kryptonite and superpower. My kryptonite is sleeping in. My superpower is being able to pop that shot of espresso and get things moving, because there's only so much time in these days. And next thing you know, it's 8, 9 p.m. and it's time for bed. So I'm Julian. Nice to meet you all. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Twice Toothpaste. We are a mission-driven company that makes clean and effective and, of course, delicious toothpaste products. We launched about 1.5 years ago. And before then, I was an investment banker and a growth equity investor focused on tech and consumer investing. I'm here in New York. I'm actually in Westchester at my parents' place right now. And my folks have been in the dental world my whole life. My dad is a dentist, and my mom and dad have been making oral care products since I'm 10 years old. And they actually started a nonprofit that brings dental professionals to communities that don't have access to care. And I went on a trip with them with actually one of our dad's patients, who's now one of our business partners, who's Lenny Kravitz, the musician. We went to his community in the Bahamas, and 35 dental professionals treated 400 people for dental care. And I started to see how life-changing dental care could be and how powerful the smile was. And so I saw that I could no longer be behind a computer and needed to join the ranks of the entrepreneurs and chase the passion. And so we've been hard at work making amazing toothpaste that gives back. Anything else that I'm leaving out? I don't think so. That's it. You could check us out while you're on your computer at smiletwice.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I like the test and learn tactic there. That was good. Yeah. Didn't miss the question. Awesome. So everyone, let's get to know a little bit about our attendees here today. If you go to the right side, there's actually 3 tabs. You'll see chat, poll, and people. Let's go ahead and click on the poll section, and you'll see a question posted by Nick Veneris. It's like, what best describes you? And this will give us a little bit of understanding of who's here, so we can help tailor those conversations. And it looks like we have 4 options. You could be a merchant or brand, agency or freelancer, app developer, technology platform. I'll put myself there, or if you're other. So feel free to go ahead and respond. You'll see the breakout of that allocation. And currently, as I see right now, looks like we have a lot of almost 40% of the responses are merchants and brands. So thank you for coming. And agencies and freelancers, we love you. You help make the world go around for us Shopify folks, as well as the app developers and technology platforms. You are also amazing. And we have quite a few here in the room as well. And others, thanks for coming. This is awesome. So let's go ahead and kick it off with the first question. You know, as I said earlier, there's a lot of change happening, and that's also going to be applicable not only to our personal lives, but also the business. What have you all seen in terms of like what are some major changes you've seen from both the consumer behavior side and also just different trends in your own businesses? Monica, do you want to start?
I started with touching on this earlier. We saw a shift in their shopping habits because people's priorities, they were adapting to the changes and they were reassessing their goals and daily habits. And we also had to change as well. So I know that we have a question later on I'll go into more detail, but it turned into us really supporting our customers. So what we saw were people really reassessing what their goals were. So if the goal was initially to go out and exercise and lose, 30 pounds, being quarantined, that could still technically be the goal, but now there's a different way to go about it. And other things also became priority, whether it be, get a different job because you got laid off or things like that. So it's definitely a very stressful time for some people, but we did see that when it was first starting, people were reassessing their goals, and it did change some of their shopping habits, at least for our store.
And I've also seen a lot of changes even in our customers and how they're shifting some of their strategies on the Refersion platform. And even myself, like I'm going through constant change daily. So I can definitely relate to that. And Julian, how about yourself? What are you seeing at Twice? Oh, I think you might be on mute there. Gotta try. There you go.
It's a crazy world that we're living in right now. What are we seeing at Twice? We are very thankful that we are a consumer staple and everybody needs to brush their teeth. It isn't like toilet paper. People, if they have a month worth of toothpaste, they're going to make it last. But look, what are we at now? We're at 16 million people filing for unemployment. People are definitely as cautious about the amount of money they've got as they've ever been. And so, we certainly get people that, as we have a subscription as part of our business, we have folks telling us that they've lost their jobs or that they want to come back to us later, which of course is completely understandable. But I think that behavior just broadly of if you're subscribed to anything, you're probably really thinking about, do I need this right now or not? But, so that's really been the main impact in terms of the business. The investment world, also very interesting, for all the entrepreneurs and brands out there. I feel your pain. Depending on where you are, from what type of investors you're speaking to, there's just so much people are unaware or are unsure of. And so a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines for a little bit, which is nothing that an entrepreneur wants to hear. So there's, the investment community being more cautious, thinking how long is this going to last? And then, the brand side feeling a little bit of the hurt from consumers and really just reevaluating your plans.
Yeah, being nimble, I think, is going to be important during this time. None of us are fortune tellers. We're all in this together. We're all writing the future of commerce together. And so, yeah, I think there's going to be some folks that will be sitting on the sidelines because they're nervous about what's going to happen. And you talked about people are a lot more aware of their finances. Devora, I know your team recently just launched some new research a couple of weeks back, which I saw in Forbes, about like how people are changing their spending habits because of those financial strains. Do you want to touch maybe a little bit on that, this consumer research you recently did?
Yeah. So we did the work in December, and we had already been seeing in our research that there was this sort of fear and anxiety that was creeping up, even from research on buying CPG products. Like we were seeing in both quant and qual research that there was just a higher amount of anxiety and stress than we had seen over prior years. And it was weird because it's like, well, we're in this, supposedly great economy and, joblessness was low. And to see, 60, 70% of people be stressed and worried about the future, in particular women, and even more than that, moms, divide between moms and dads was actually the biggest of any cohorts, was concerning to us. Like when large swaths of the population don't feel confident, feel financially vulnerable, don't really feel like the future's looking great. That, you look at that, and I advise brands and I go, there's risk here. And sure enough, one of the things that we saw was that the people that were most afraid And again, this is right before COVID hit. So this is what I would consider sort of the normal that we have, that would be great to get back to, and it's not even a great place, right? Was that people who were more afraid, and by the way, they could be afraid of politics, they could be afraid of the economy, they could have worries about personal finances, but any one of those, and healthcare, had sort of those stress markers tended to correlate with a reduction in spending. So that was something that we were already seeing. And the top 3 things that people were worried about in this survey across all generations. And by the way, also across the left and the right. These move around depending on where you sit on the ideological spectrum. They move around depending on your age. But the top 3 fears shared by Americans: number 1, healthcare; number 2, personal finances; number 3, climate change. So this COVID thing like hit all of our hot spots. And I think that there's a lot of, reassessing in terms of what people are buying and how often they're buying and how much they're spending and what types of things they're buying and what types of things they can even get access to. But I think it's a very unique moment because everyone's kind of going through it together. And unless you're just in the very rich of the very rich, the top 1% of 1%, everyone is feeling this. And so I think that is a very unique opportunity, very interesting moment for all of us.
Yeah, that's quite true as well. And I think some of your research, and I believe I saw, because I saw the webinar, is that there was actually a significant decrease. Was it by a spend, right? Is it by 33% or 16%? I forgot the number exactly.
Yeah, there's a few different numbers in there, but that basically, if you are somebody that fits a profile of, if you fit into, we divided folks up into different segments, and if you fit into the sort of the worried segment, which is about 20% of the population, you are decreasing your spending by 10 to 15%, and we know that number is now much higher because we're the joblessness claims. That we could be looking at 10 to 50% unemployment on the high end, but could be. I think it's at about 10 to 16% right now, give or take which model you look at. And so that will be even higher beyond that.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And I'm sure those numbers are always going to be changing as things change as well for all of us. So we're going to turn it to everyone here who's attending. We have another poll, and some of you have already, thank you for doing so. I've already answered this question. Has your business had to pivot or apply new strategies or tactics amid the current epidemic? Actually, it's actually a pandemic at the moment. So go ahead and reply to that poll. In my business or the business that we're in, we definitely have had to make some pivots and strategies in terms of the marketing side of the business, rewriting our events strategy, how we get new customers, things along those lines. And so I think even for myself, leading the marketing effort here at Refersion, we're rewriting stuff daily. How has that been for you all here? Has it been pretty day by day, playing it by ear?
Yeah, in a way. As I was saying earlier, I'll go into more details. When it was first starting, I want to say the beginning of March, and we started to see a shift. That's when we had strategy meetings, and we decided that the BestSelf team, if I didn't mention this earlier, is actually 100% remote. So we have been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and we took the opportunity because customers that were aware of it had reached out to us and had said, hey, how can I use your products, use while working remotely? What are some tips to manage a team working remotely, or working remotely if you have kids, which can seem impossible. So we actually did a virtual summit for free to give to our customers. We did a 6-hour course. We interviewed a bunch of other e-commerce leaders that are also working remotely. We put together the tools that we use as a team to give it to our customers for free, to give them that support. And then also on top of that, we also made a self-journal, one goal at a lower price, so that people even though they're struggling and still, like we were talking about earlier, the unemployment is going up, to still be able to get to their goal and not necessarily be stopped because of the price. So our whole strategy that we had to pivot, which was very different from February, was giving the customers that extra support, showing them that we were there for them. And then internally as a business, we started going through all of our apps and our programs and what is need to have, what is nice to have, and what don't we need anymore. We went through that. So, it's just, for us, it was just change, being more, similar to what the customers are going through. We to be more, thoughtful with how we're spending our, our money and things like that. So for us, it's sort of our pivot is just being more thoughtful with our customers internally. Just that's what we had to pivot. That was different from February.
You have a stray cat on the camera. Hey
I
there.
hope nobody's allergic to cats.
No,
What's the name of
what's the cat's name?
This is Chiba.
Oh, it's so cute.
It's a beautiful name.
I put her on Prozac recently, and I would highly recommend. My life got a lot better when she got on Prozac. It was very so if you've got a cat that's going crazy, I'm just going to tell you, put them on Prozac. Best thing you ever did. The vets are all drive-through right now. You just call them up, pick up the prescription. Life gets better within 24 hours. We got that free for folks. That's free advice there.
So adaptation has been very helpful for Devora's personal life with the cat, as well as for Monica here at BestSelf. And Monica, I really commend you and your team for providing a lot of value to your customers during this time of need. You are the experts of remote work because you all practice it on the daily. And Julian, I know you all are doing some stuff both for giving back, but also some pivots in how you acquire customers. What's been the trend for you all lately?
Yeah. Well, as a mission-driven business and really with our foundation as well, we have been doing a lot of coordinating of equipment to deliver to the front lines. So for the whole month and most likely for another couple months, 20% of all of our orders will be going towards getting donated and bringing PPE and N95 and KN95 masks to the front lines. So we've been doing that because we want to, we know these frontline workers well, and we want to make sure we're getting them what they need. From a business standpoint, similar to Monica, beginning of or middle of March, it was, holy cow, what do we need? What don't we need? Like, what happens if revenue gets chopped in half or goes to zero? And really, it was an incredible exercise, if there's any silver lining, just learning to battle test your business even more. And in terms of us on the acquisition side, we've been really excited actually about our partnership with Refersion, about an ambassador program. And for us as a toothpaste product that has a story and a mission and has a unique angle in terms of formulation, the dental professional is really excited about Twice. And right now the dental professional is doing nothing. So we are welcoming them into our community, which is a group of passionate dental hygienists and dental professionals that really want to be a part of the oral health conversation. And right now it's a way for them to be able to earn a little extra income by recommending that, when their friends and family and patients that they're reaching out to are ready to buy some new toothpaste, that they try Twice. So, as terrible as it is, my dad's sitting home, his office is closed. As terrible as it is that these people are out of work, we're able to offer them community. We're on Zooms and Facebook Lives a few times a week, and we're able to hopefully offer them, a nice income stream. So leveraging what we have and what we can do to adapt. I'm very inspired by what I've seen on the restaurant side. I don't know if you follow Daniel Hum, who's 11 Madison Park, but he's turned his entire, 3-star Michelin restaurant into a community kitchen, and partnering with a group that's delivering over 2,000 meals every day to hospitals and police stations. we've even a friend has a fitness boutique studio called Swerve, and when Corona hit, he leased his bikes to his consumers. Like, I was incredible. What an effort to take all of your bikes out of your studios and lease them to your consumers. And the elements of how people are being nimble and responding are really, there's a lot of inspiration out there.
That's awesome. And thank you, by the way. That wasn't placed there at all, everyone here, for the kind words of Refersion. You hit on a couple of good points, and I think we all talked about that here. Even to you, Devora, we're talking about like Passover and being with the family virtually. You, Monica, and BestSelf, giving back to your customers in a way that's valuable to them, especially in this time of need. And then Julian, the work that you and your team have been doing with coronavirus and building your ambassador program and doing the Facebook Lives, that's super valuable. And I think there's a key thing here, and it's around this idea of community. I have a close contact, a colleague, Patrick Hanlon. He's actually here. He's put in there, like, we've been working remotely for over a decade. Hey, Patrick's always ahead of the curve, 10 years. If you don't know who Patrick Hanlon is, he is a great evangelist, a great marketer, and a great storyteller. He's the author of Social Code as well as Primal Branding, which is one of those two books. I forget which one. Patrick can put it in the chat, but is required reading by all YouTube employees. And he talks about this concept of community, this tribe. And these places, we all feel a sense of safety in those places, right? We have our group of friends, our close group of friends, and our outer circle group of friends. And then we have our coworkers, but then inside you have your smaller group of coworker friends, or some people might be like, oh, I have my work husband or my work wife, and we have these sense of like a sense of security in some form or fashion, right? And they all, as Patrick puts in his book, they all have some form of a lexicon or a ritual. You have the people that represent that community in some way. And so I believe, and I think this is true for a lot of us, that being a part of that narrative, being a part of that community, or using your ambassador programs, affiliates, influencers, whatever you want to call them, or even just your customers, and bringing your brand into that, whether you're selling a product or not, I think is going to build really strong brand credibility, but also lend you a lot of trust because they welcome you into those communities. And so what I've been learning a lot lately, especially from my colleagues in the B2B space, is that this is the time to build your audience, build content, build things that are going to help people today. And if it doesn't, that's okay. And he's put brands are beliefs. Yes, Patrick, thank you for correcting me. Brands are belief systems. And I find that true too. Apple's a belief system. I have these special things I go to. One's called Frequency in Chelsea, and that's a belief system of its own. It's not necessarily a religion, but it's something I tie with. And I think that's a huge opportunity for all merchants, all brands to help build a stronger community around their brand. And in turn, you will see potentially, I can't give you a definitive answer if that's a yes, but most of the time, especially the billion-dollar brands, that's how they drive a lot of their revenues, building that community, that trust, and that credibility. And Julian, what you just said is commerce, community, and content, and community is that key word, right? And I'm a strong believer in that. And I think there's a huge opportunity for merchants and brands to really take advantage of that. And not even just those folks, even the tech platforms, the app platforms, agencies, and freelancers, you too can take advantage of that. So that leads into my next question, where we talk about this era that we're in. And we'll never forget this. I know that for a fact. Like, it's going to be something we're going to look back on and be like, I remember getting Drizzly orders and all that stuff, or takeout and Uber Eats, but there's going to be a time where this passes, right? Things are going to go back to normal. And as you know, and you see Dr. Fauci and everyone talks about this apex, right? The virus or the COVID. Well, there's going to also be an apex of after when this is over, right? Well, people are not going to want to be home. They're going to be out and about. Retail stores are going to be open again. And of what capacity, I don't know. We don't know. We're not fortune tellers. But with that being said, that means that us as brands and merchants have to evolve immediately when that happens. So the question is like, how are you all as leaders of your companies in some form or fashion, like, how are you planning for that back to normal world? And we could talk a little bit about what normal is later, but more about like, how are you starting to plan for when things go back to normal?
You want me to start?
Yeah, actually, Julian, if you want to take it, and then we'll go Devora and then Monica.
I mean, I think planning for when things go back to normal, I don't know when that's going to be. So I'll take any tips out there. I'm trying to just get through what we got going right now. For us, a lot of what we're focused on, again, the benefit of being an oral care brand and selling toothpaste is expanding distribution. To your point before about community and content, right now we are doing so much for this group of dental professionals in our community to really take this time to educate them about Twice, about our mission, about our products, so that when they go back to being able to practice in the professional setting, that they're as prepared as ever to talk about Twice. Beyond that, we are also launching at retail. So we'll be in one of the nation's largest pharmacies, going national in a month and a half. Thank God we're lucky that they're still staying open through this. And, we think that their brand image will be even stronger at the end of this. But it's really interesting to think about what the future will hold. Are you going to walk into a store and it's going to be like normal? There's going to be Purell right there when you walk in. There's going to be a sign that says we sanitize everything every 25 minutes. People are going to be walking around with masks. I think for us, beyond retail, there's definitely going to be a large section of this country that is kind of freaked out and doesn't want to go drive to their neighborhood store when they could go on Amazon. Maybe they didn't want to go on Amazon before for whatever reason. So we as a business are going to go on Amazon sooner than we had projected. So looking to get on that in the next few months, because we believe that the D2C market is going to be, really hot for products like ours. It's unnecessary to go take the trip if you can just buy it there. At the same time, I think for anybody ordering products online right now, you're also seeing a clogging of the logistics system. Supply chains are a little messed up. Product is running out. Delivery times are 5 days longer than typical. And so that also might drive people into retail. So for us, as a product business, we're focused on thinking about the e-tailers that make a lot of sense for us, as well as the retail footprint that we hope will be getting traffic. But the idea of normal, honestly, I don't really know what it's going to look like. I have a lot more questions than I do answers.
Right. Somebody just put in the chat, I believe it's Gabriel. Thanks for your comment there. Things will go back to a form of normal. And when I say normal, it's about normal of the B2C landscape. And you hit a really good point here, and it's about building your digital space for your business, right? How about you, Monica? Or actually, no, Devora. Sorry, I skipped you. Devora. How about you, Devora? What are you seeing, or what do you define as, or what do you, I guess, what are your predictions? I mean, these are predictions. These aren't facts. We're all going to learn together.
No. So somebody wrote in the chat box, that after cancer, you don't go back to something. You don't go back to the same way you were. And having just gone through that with my mom, my husband, the last couple of years, it's true. You're fundamentally changed, and the healing doesn't make you the person you were. It makes you something new. And so I think we have a real choice right now as to what kind of society we want to be, what kind of businesses we want to be. And I think there's a lot more of it that is in our imagination and in our head than we realize. Like, it's really easy to be like, I can't because, and these are the things, and this is the, and it's really a state of mind. Do we want to honor our employees and put them first? Or do we want to say, oh, no, this is a tough environment, I'm shutting down and people are going to go without pay? I mean, how do we want to be? And that is, I think, what makes this so hard in doing these predictions, is that it's not clear to me as a society what we want. And so I hope that we choose we really use this time to reassess. There was a thing I shared with you guys that I saw on LinkedIn that said, who is leading digital transformation at your company? Number one, or option A, the CEO. Option B, the CTO. Option C, COVID-19. And I think that COVID-19 is producing an insane amount of disruption that is really interesting. I mean, it's also heartbreaking. Ad Age is compiling a list of different ways in which companies are responding to the current crisis. I really encourage you to check it out. And it's really interesting, the different ways in which companies are handling this and responding to it that I hope continues, right? So Coke handed over their social media feeds to groups like the Red Cross. Lowe's dedicated their ad time that had already been paid for, to encouraging folks to set up their own DIY thank you signs in the windows. And, I mentioned the example of the MindBody app, which used to restrict you to your neighborhood, and then you could find Pilates classes or yoga classes in your area. And I don't know how they did it. I mean, they did it in record time. So obviously they probably could have done it in the past, but chose not to. You can take a class in Australia. You can take a dance hip hop class that is not offered in the United States somewhere else. And so, if we look at it from that perspective, we have extraordinary opportunity. I think it has to start with really looking about your company's values and who do you want to be and what are your consumers' needs and really listening to them. And I would say if I have seen anything from studying shoppers the past decade, what they want and what is now more important to them than value. So value for 100 years was the number one thing. If you ask people, what do you want? What's most important to you when buying something? For 100 years, they said the price, basically, a version of that. Today, when we ask that question, they tell us more information. So being more informed is as valuable as a good price, which is amazing. So I think that as all of us, as business leaders, business owners, whoever we are, thinking about, and I want to go back to that item of community. I just read 3 articles in the New Yorker today that I had to read. They were those amazing types of articles that come out. One was on surviving kind of in a tight space, learning from people in submarines. One was from those who have gone through really difficult things like Nelson Mandela. And one was Friendly Woods. But the 2 out of the 3, actually, she was like, I'm fine with being alone. But the other 2 were about community. And so I would say of all of us right now, what I think is and community was the key thing in what got them through, whether they were in a jail cell in the middle of Syria, whatever, community got them through. So I just, a quick sort of thing that we're doing in our company and that we're encouraging all of our clients to do is to really focus on how do you create more information and content that is relevant to them, that helps educate them on every aspect of what you're doing. So really educating people and using that as a service, and then really developing relationships and allowing people to develop community. Those to me seem like the big things, because it's really hard to know what the world's going to look like in 4 months or 6 months. Half of our businesses could not be in operation. Even businesses that we thought had an incredible trajectory, like is Airbnb going to survive? I don't know. So it seems to me that really right now, for the moment, focusing on how do I support my employees as humans and create more opportunities for my employees and my consumers to be better informed, to be more transparent, and to be more connected. If you do only that, that's all you have to do.
Yeah, that's amazing what you said. You hit a couple of good points there for me. One is what opportunities are you giving your employees, right? We were told, and I say we were told, I mean, all of us as Americans, and I'm sure in many other countries, hey, you need to work from home. And I'm sure a lot of us ask, well, what does that mean? I have a lot of friends that are in the service industry, and that meant no income. And we're fortunate, at least here at Refersion, we're very fortunate that we have the privilege to work from home. And our CEO and COO, Shibo and Alex, thank you. We want to thank you. They came to us and said, hey, and this was to the company, like, we want to give you the resources you need to work from home. So here is a stipend to do so. And, that made me, I was like, wow, like, that is awesome to see that I have, there's leaders in my company that really care about our overall comfort of working from home, but also investing in us. And I think that's super powerful. So I think that for me, that really hit home really hard. And how about you, Monica? Like, again, as I said earlier, we're not fortune tellers, but I mean, what are some of the thoughts you've had about this new world of normal?
So like I was saying the other day when we were talking, I actually spoke about this with my entire team. And like what Julian and Devora were saying, this is the new normal, and I don't think we could ever go back to the way things were. And the way that we're preparing is by continuing to do what we started, which is continue to support our customers. Today we gave a webinar on how to achieve your goals, and how to, because even if you're home, it doesn't mean that you give up on life. There's still things you can accomplish from home. So that's what we are doing to prepare for the new normal. And it's scary because nobody knows when this is going to end, but we are all in this together. And I think by companies and brands being there for their employees, for their customers, I think that will get us to the new normal. And that's, for me, that's exciting to see that brands are actually giving back to their employees, to their customers. So for me, like, I think this is a good thing, for the brands. I think listening to the customers and making changes based, adapting to what customers really want, and supporting them, I think is a great thing.
Yeah, adaptability.
Yeah, exactly.
Such an important word, right?
Yeah.
There's been some great brands out there that have done a great job moving some of their retail workers over to online support or online sales. I believe Apple's one of those change makers in that respect. I commended them for that. And I also see a lot of other brands finding ways to apply the digital thought to an in-person experience. So remember the days of desktop versus mobile, and this is going to probably resonate the most with our developers and our tech platforms out there and all of our front-end people. But when that time came, it was like, well, you have to now design a mobile UI. And you're like, what? I have to do what? Oh, this doesn't look right, and all types of madness. And now it's just status quo. You create two versions of the same site. And it seems like double the work, but it's just a part of the experience, part of the omni-channel experience of communications to your end user. And I think that same methodology will also be applied to every business unit, to your logistics, to your people, both in-store and online. And so I think that's a key thing. And so for our attendees here, we have one last poll before we open it up for Q&A. So our question is, how much thought have you put into preparing your business for this new world of normal? And when we say normal, we mean the landscape, how your business is going to be impacted, how society is going to be impacted, we don't know. However, it looks like just based on some of the votes that we have now, quite a few of you are already there, and that's awesome, and we commend you for that. And for the folks that are working to get there, there are lots of resources out there to help you. I mean, you've got 3 great minds right here, as you can see, if it even looks and renders correctly. But then you have this amazing community here of other folks from our Shopify community, and other developers. Those are other great people to reach out to and just ask questions, just be vulnerable. And there's also a lot of resources out there where there's Slack groups and LinkedIn groups. We actually have a LinkedIn group, by the way, so I will tell you more about that at the end. Just a quick plug. And then for those of you, which is a large majority that are currently planning, that's great. But also keep in mind, you got to be able to pivot if you have to, because something might not be the same at the very end or when you get to that point. So I think the idea of adaptability is going to be key in the future, our future here. Somebody actually mentioned in the chat here about how things will go back to normal, but it'll be a split of history where it was before and after. And I thought that was quite interesting, actually. Great. So I actually do have one more question before we jump into the Q&A, and everyone on the chat, feel free to put your questions in the chat because there is a slight 15-second delay, so that'll allow you to kind of fill that in. But I'm going to turn it to our panelists and ask you all, if you could give any advice to anyone, and no, I know you've given quite a bit of advice today, but if one little nugget, in addition to everything else, all the other knowledge you gave us today, what advice could you give merchants, app developers, agencies, whomever, regarding this pandemic? What advice can you give to them during this kind of tough time?
For me, I think it's just support versus sell. I think if you're actively trying to sell to a customer, you're immediately it's going to turn off. If you're supporting them, that will turn into sales. You don't have to, it's not the same. It's not the way it was. Like, you're supporting your customer, supporting, like the support versus sell. That would be my advice.
Okay. I love that advice. How about you, Julian? You haven't said anything in a while. Sorry about that.
No, I think that's spot on. I mean, from a content standpoint, it's the reason why everybody keeps saying the same thing. Adding value to your consumer outside of asking for money is the most important thing right now. Educating them, but in a way where you're conscious of what's happening right now. So absolutely that. Beyond that, conserve cash. And really try to challenge yourself to think about where you can find money. Where can you find revenue? The online community is buzzing. And so if you have a product that can be sold on an electronic retailer, you should definitely try to push, because there are revenue opportunities out there. So conserve cash, find some money, and add value to your consumers.
From an ex-investor banker there, I definitely trust him. And Devora, go ahead, Julian. Sorry. Okay. And how about you, Devora? From your massive background in research, I respect a lot of what you do for us.
All that matters is that you listen. And that is true always. If you're not listening to your employees, if you're not listening to your consumers, your customers, you're at risk. And so if you can use this time to become a better listener, if you're not out of cash and can afford to do research, you should. And maybe what that research looks like is different. Maybe it's not, a $500,000 segmentation. Maybe it's, a little poll, but a little survey, but anything that you can do to listen to what the people you serve are going through. I mean, it requires a pause right now. Like, if you're not accepting that we're in this sort of uncertain, grief-filled moment, then I don't know what to tell you. The people are going through stuff big time. They're losing people. We're all going to know somebody who's going to have died. It's just a fact. We have never in our lifetimes, of any of us, certainly on the screen alive, experienced that before. So the best thing I think we can do is really listen. And if you can do that in a structured way, cool. If it means just emailing your folks and being like, what's going on? And how has this been for you? And what do you need from us? Whatever it is, I think if you can devote some time to do that, it will be time well spent.
That's really good advice. Got a little bit of a tear there, actually. So to everyone here, we would love to open up for Q&A. While everyone's putting your questions in the chat, we will do our absolute best to answer all the questions possible. And if there are more questions, we will do our best to take those back home with us and provide some type of answer with you. We're going to be doing a follow-up here Monday for those of you who have attended, with recording of this segment, as well as an invite to our next virtual event, which is taking place on April 30th. We've got some really awesome partners that are going to join us. And it's this idea around customer acquisition during an offbeat time. And we have Recharge joining us. We have Klaviyo, as well as Okendo, who will be joining us as well. So we'd love to have you join us. We also have a really awesome exclusive LinkedIn group for our community here. So if you haven't already joined it, not a problem. There's plenty of more opportunities to join it. If you go to the confirmation email you received after signing up for this event, there's a LinkedIn button at the bottom. You can join. We'll approve you. You'll be welcome into our community. There you can connect with the folks here, get to know others. If you have a question, a burning question, this is a great opportunity to ask for some advice. We already have some conversations going in there. We'll also be using that as a channel to let you know of any future virtual events that we're hosting. And then also, don't forget, following this, we have networking opportunities. So go meet some other folks in the community, and you can do it social distancing in a safe environment and be able to have that one-to-one connection, which is amazing. Devora, Monica, Julian, and myself will be in our own session booths. You'll find on the left side under sessions. So feel free to come by, pick our brains.
Do we get to, does the wine get poured before or after that?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, margaritas and wine. If you want to take a break to go grab a quick drink, snack, or make sure that everyone's fed in the family, by all means, everyone, feel free to take a quick minute break after this. But don't forget, we're also giving away 3 sets of AirPod Pros in the expo area. So we highly encourage you, go check out our sponsors. They're amazing folks. And 3 lucky people of everyone here will win a set. And those will be shipped to you directly from Apple. So there's no bunch of people touching them. So don't worry about that. But I have some questions coming in. Here, you guys. So the first one's from Autumn. Autumn, by the way, thank you for participating in the chat. What are some of the skills that you think are most critical to invest in right now for those who are currently working in industries like travel or hospitality? If you have any thoughts, anyone on that. It's kind of an open question, so feel free to jump in.
I just want a little clarity about the question.
Yeah.
So what are some of the skills that you think are most critical, like for a company to invest in right now or for individuals?
Based on the question, Autumn, feel free to kind of put some clarification in there. We can maybe try to answer it from both perspectives, maybe from a job seeker or someone in that industry, and then maybe try to answer it from the business side. Let's start with from the job seeker perspective, because I know that's a hard one for a lot of folks.
R&D.
Oh, R&D, research and development. Okay.
Man, that's a tough question. I mean, I'm a little stumped, honestly. But you were thinking more for individuals generally, but both would be great.
Okay.
I need a minute. I don't know if Julian or Monica, if you have.
Again, I mean, I think obviously you're talking about 2 professions or 2 industries that are taking a little bit of a beating right now. I think that element of empathy and content is where I would be investing time. Again, the idea of we're going to get through this, plan your next vacation, and being able to provide that type of content to your consumers could be something really interesting. And the word vacation might take a new type of meaning these days. But I think really anything to bring them joy, to provide a sense of we're going to get through this. And, hospitality and travel are 2 categories that bring people the most joy. It brings them fulfillment, it grows their knowledge base. You definitely have an opportunity to have a different dimension to your business now, as you're clearly not selling too much.
Yeah, you had a really good point there, and I'll let you jump in here in a second, Devora, because what's interesting is you talk about the travel industry specifically, and I'm not sure how many of you are subscribed to Airbnb's stock. They just made an announcement literally 2 hours, an hour and 55 minutes ago, since I'm so particular. They just made an announcement that they're now offering their experiences, which were once in person, now virtual. Which I found is very interesting. I mean, just throwing some ideas out there from a hospitality perspective or a training kind of experience perspective, send them the ingredients they need and host a cocktail making class virtually. Those are some of the ideas. So if you haven't gotten the email, I just got it there. But that was one of the things that I came across just in terms of that's the industry. I'll pass it over to you, Devora.
Yeah, I have a thought. I think it's easy to look around and go, and not wrong. It's normal to look around and go like, okay, well, like maybe my job is I've been furloughed, or my industry is being kind of for the indefinite future interrupted in major ways. So I'm going to answer this question a little bit less, or in a less orthodox way, which is that I actually don't think that skills are going to be what gets us to the other side of this, or anyone in their career. I actually think that we're in a place where it's really, really hard to predict what skills you're going to need. I mean, obviously, if you're not technically skilled, do that. Like very clearly, digital kind of capabilities are going to be required. But that aside, I think for me, the answer for anybody, whether you're working in an environment like restaurants or hospitality that's been disrupted, is personal transformation. And that the ability to withstand uncertainty and grief and get to know yourself well enough that you can provide empathy to others when this restarts is going to be what will make you successful. So, there's some, really great courses out there. Masterclass has one. I just recently did the Landmark Forum, which I had been skeptical about for 20 years and was honestly for $700 great. Anything that you can do to help you manage through and then help your customers manage through and your employees manage through this, I think is far more important than a particular skill. Those can be learned when you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, skills can be learned. One of the things I learned at Apple is that, we can always teach you a skill, but we can't teach you a personality or an emotion. So that's something that's a really good point that you brought up. Monica, do you have anything you'd like to add to that question, or maybe from a different perspective?
It was actually very similar to Devora. I was actually going to mention taking courses to really help your, I guess you could say professional development. So it could be a master class. Doesn't necessarily have to be something skill based, because it's true, we don't know what it's going to be in 6 months, a year from now. So just bettering yourself so that you can be more prepared to help your customers. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a college course. It could be like a different course, or, anything to really help you be better.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we have most of our questions, or all of our questions, answered. It looks like somebody with TP or Ponzio, apologies if I hacked your last name, I apologize. They made a recommendation from the business side. Business side, I would invest in SOPs and SOGs. Having business continuity plans in place with vendors is important. I like that takeaway. That's a really, really good takeaway.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, the number of CEOs that don't have contingency plans for what happens if their business, if something happens to them, I mean, get that in place. Because your employees deserve that.
Yeah, I agree. I have a colleague at another company, pretty well-known company in the space, and they've been running through models, just different models on how things might evolve and what needs to happen. And oh, okay, I will get to you, Casey. I saw that question come in. And so, yeah, I think doing that forethought and just thinking about it, what could happen, and I think that's important, especially from us as leaders. And then someone just, Casey, you said, Richard, I'd love to hear anything you are thinking in regards to helping the users of your app who may be laid off at the moment. Users of your app. Okay, so people that actually use our app, there's like I said earlier, the users that use our app, or specifically Refersion, are affiliate managers or influencer marketing managers. I mean, it ranges a whole group from even to the CEO and folks of all levels. And for those folks that are, you are masters of managing your community, which is awesome. So take that. I think that's an important takeaway. Like, you have a skill set that can be applied to a lot of different parts of the business, from content marketing to community management. I mean, there's so many different areas you can go in, and that can be applied to different lines of business. There was actually, I was taking a course where it's talking about how B2B marketers are successful in social. And you'd be quite surprised that some of the most successful brands on social, specifically Instagram of all things for B2B, has been pharmaceutical companies. It's quite interesting. I won't go into the details from that respect, but I think that being able to transcribe your skill sets to other lines of business are really important. Think of the day when you were trying to get your first job and you're moving from hospitality into your job today, or whatever job that you're taking on. It was a huge transition, right? And the thought process you had to think about was like, well, why would they care that I was a host at this really cool restaurant, Well, think about how you can transcribe those skill sets. So example would be, I was a host. I was the face of this brand, and I made them feel welcome. You can apply that to customer success. You can apply that to the sales team. You can even apply that to marketing, understanding and controlling the experience. So I think that's one way. Another way is tap into your community. Go onto LinkedIn, reach out to different leaders. You'd be surprised what a cold outreach would do. I've had a lot of candidates reach out to me, and because they did, I was like, let's go grab coffee. I'd love to chat with you. You took the initiative, let's chat. So that's another way you can get involved or try to see if there's opportunities there. Another is look for LinkedIn groups. So our LinkedIn group that we're starting, hey, if you're looking for a role, let people know. There's a great opportunity here in networking one-to-one. Shoot me an email. I'm happy to connect you with as many people as I can, giving us the right connection. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And even myself, I've been getting a lot of hits from my colleagues internally at Refersion, like, hey, I had a friend let go. Like, do you know anyone? I was like, let me connect him with the Slack group of CMOs I have access to. So use your networking as much as you can. And how do you think this will affect the freelance workers industry? We'll see an increase or decrease in people moving that direction. I don't have an answer from that perspective. I still think freelancers are still going to be an important aspect of this. And I'm sure, I don't know, Monica, Julian, do you guys use agencies or freelancers currently right now in your business?
Both.
Yeah, same.
I would definitely think this would be a benefit to the freelance community. People are definitely going to be less apt to strap on to some $12,000 a month rental agreement and have a disjointed or separated workforce. And I think the freelance economy works great there. Freelancers they can be absolutely great for your culture, super effective at what they're doing, and it allows you to have a little bit more flexibility as the entrepreneur. So I would think what's going on now is great for the freelance economy.
How about you, Monica? Do you guys have anything that's have you freelancers and stuff?
Yeah, we actually, when I first started, I was a freelancer, and then they hired me as an employee. So I think it's going to increase freelancers. I think now that we're moving into, I think it's exciting that people that never worked remotely are working remotely, and they can see how much can actually get done working from home. Because I know for some people, they felt when you work from home that you were just like sitting in your pajamas and watching Netflix and not actually working. And they've seen that you can be very productive working from home. So I think that for some companies, I agree, Jess, like some companies will prefer to work with freelancers, that you have a contract and then you can end it, move on to another freelancer than hiring a full-time employee. I think it's easier. And freelancers can work multiple jobs too. So I think freelancers are actually going to be increasing, during this and after.
And how about you, Devora? I know your business is very client-based, and it's project to project, and I'm not sure how everything else works, but how has that been from your side of the business, since your company acts as a form of freelance to large CPG brands, even brands that I've worked at? What has that been like lately from the freelancer side or the agency side?
We only use freelancers for graphic design. That's it. So I'm not sure I'm the best person to speak to it, but I think what will be interesting to watch for is, as we think about contract workers, they've been unprotected. And so I think that if more people are becoming contract workers, and if we consider YouTube and Lyft as part of, those drivers, there's just a lot of people that are serving on the front lines right now that have not been typically protected, and freelancers are included in that. And I think as a society, we sort of have to have a conversation about, like, these people are doing important work and they're serving a need that I think allows companies to be adaptable. Like, I want to be able to hire contractors, but I don't want to screw people over. And I want to figure out what are ways in which, as we can, and I don't know if that's like a collective organizing thing for freelancers. I don't know what that would look like. That sounds insane. But I think something that allows people to, and again, if you had a healthcare system that was for everybody in some way, that would be one less thing that contractors have to worry about. So it seems like if we can provide some safety net things, that could allow for greater reliance on contractors, which I think is a positive thing for those who like contract work and for those who like contractors. So that's more a hope than a real observation or prediction.
Yeah, I think those are really good insights across the board. And just somebody actually asked in there, I imagine affiliate marketers are taking a hit right now. I think that's true I think it depends on the vertical you're in at the moment. So there's been a lot of research and stats that coming out specifically around health-related CPG brands, especially things like Twice, BestSelf, exactly from the self-help side, are seeing increases in their businesses. I wouldn't say that's true for everyone. There was a study, and if you know more insights on this, Devora, please chime in. I believe they're called Izzy Insights, and they did a study on affiliate influencer marketing pre-coronavirus, or excuse me, COVID, and then also a study on if consumers were to be quarantined for any reason, what would be their changes in their behavior, consumption of content online. So I believe, based on the research I have access to, 66% of those who were surveyed said that they would increase their social media usage slightly to significantly, given that they're quarantined. And if we look at some other stats out there in the space as well, consumers are, about 99% of consumers, I think it's 88% actually, misquoted on that. 88% of consumers have reported that they find that online recommendations are just as powerful as in-person recommendations. So that, I think, lends a lot of value to those affiliates. And then, of course, a lot of us are buying stuff online anyways. Like, I buy probably 10 things online a day. Uber Eats are one of them. Drizzly's one of them. And all my other things that I like shipped, I just had some really nice slippers shipped to me because I knew I was going to be at home for a while. So from the affiliate influencer space, it's still strong and healthy. But again, there will be verticals that are impacted, unfortunately. So I think that's everything from my end. Anybody on the panel have anything else they wanted to add or anything along those lines?
I think the conversation of freelancers is incredibly interesting. And in the coming months, you're probably going to see a lot of activity, investment activity, into companies that help freelancers across the board, benefits, job opportunities. And you're talking about, again, 16 million people filing for unemployment. You've got some of the best positioned D2C startups in the country now in a really, really tough position, laying off a lot of people. And these are super talented people with a ton of experience. And so the companies that are set up to get these people jobs from a freelance side, I think, you're going to see the freelance tool set, if it's not already amazing, just absolutely get a lot of investment and attention so that people can start working.
And now. Julian, just to comment on that, one thing I want to encourage everyone to think about. There are probably people out there who you wished you could hire and you couldn't afford them. And they may be unemployed right now. And if you had gone to them and said, I can't afford to pay you what you're worth, but will you come and do this with me? Because I think we could make something amazing. They would have said, I can't. There's no way. And what we're looking at in our firm, and what I encourage everyone to look at, is go have those conversations and say, what do you want? What will you want? What do you want to feel like when you go to work? Who do you want to work with? And they will understand right now, assuming you don't take advantage of them, that this is a remarkable time. And there may be opportunities to really partner in some powerful ways with people that you could have never brought on your team and are now, and they maybe have been mistreated. They've maybe been fired in really gross ways. And you can say to them, come and join us. And it'll look like this right now. I can't pay you your full thing right now. Let's build the business together. Let's work and we'll figure it out. And you can have all stars on your team when things are ready to go.
It's amazing. That's such a great takeaway. And Monica, if you have anything last that you want to close with, because I think we've hit time significantly.
Yeah, no, I don't want to take up too much time, but I think Julian and Devora really hit it, exactly nail on the head. So I don't want to take up too much time. So yeah, I think that this is an important conversation that, like the title, it's Metamorphosis. It's going to be changing as time continues. So I am very interested to see how the industry changes after all of this.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you three for joining us today. You have been super insightful across the board. And we wish you all the best during this time for not only your businesses, but your families and friends. And everyone who's joining us here as well. We want to thank you for your time and your day, especially, as I said, during this tumultuous time, but also during the holiday of Passover. Thank you. Please be safe. Please take care of others, respect others. And we want to wish you and your family the best during this time.